Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scout. I was just saying to Gianni, if you've come here to see him looking miserable, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed because Gianni, you are flying at the moment. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, mate. It's been a good start to the season, although I keep telling myself don't read too much into overall rank after 2 game weeks. But of course, I'm happy. There's most of the players people are targeting. Well, there's a fair few that I've got, which I'm happy about. There are, of course, players that I want that I can't quite get to, but so far so good. I'm happy with my team. I'm certainly not one of those that are looking at wildcard options just yet.
And if you hear that sound, that's the sound of 1,000 people logging off, seeing your happy face and thinking, "No, we want more last year. We want more misery and pain from Gianni. We don't want all this happy talk."
As it got to a point last year where Andy, who you guys know I was obviously doing these videos with, said to me sort of halfway through the season, "Are you sure you want to carry on? Like, have you seen, obviously you've seen the comments and you're doing poorly." And I was like, "Mate, I committed to this. Like, come rain or shine, I am here. And if people want to enjoy my misery, then, you know, whatever floats their boat." So no, I was still somehow turning up with a smile last year. And I don't quite know how, because I look back at it and it was horrific.
Yeah.
So I'm really hopeful it doesn't go the same way this year, because same with you, Az. I'll be here come rain or shine, come game week 37.
Good. Yep. I'm in two minds. Part of me wants you to do really well, another part of me wants you to really flop. So yeah, I'm probably the same as a lot of people. Just before we come on to your points and team, just want to talk a bit about Fantasy 5, who Fantasy Football Scout are partnered with this season. It's a great complimentary game for FPL. It takes a few minutes to set up your team. Completely free to play, and there's massive cash prizes available, £10,000 jackpot each week. There's also a mini league that you can join where there's monthly and seasonal prizes too. You can set up your own mini league, challenge your friends, which is a kind of a new feature because you can actually earn points rather than you haven't got to hit the jackpot to make money. There's things like Champions League tickets, prizes for the overall most points, and loads of other things as well. So check the link in the description too. Essentially all we do is you pick 5 players, one from 5 different fixtures, and they have a sort of a fantasy target they need to reach in terms of points. There's no bonus points, so everything else is pretty much the same. And if that player meets that target, then you tick them off, and then if you get all 5, you win the 10 grand. So this week's games start from 3 p.m. on Saturday, so you don't have to worry about City v Arsenal. And I will be showing my picks at the end of the video. And genuinely, I said it last week and no one made it, but it looks doable. It looks doable again. I think someone is going to win it soon because the points targets aren't crazy. So yeah, stick around if you're interested and make sure that you sign up to that too. Right, Gianni, let's move on to your team. So 83 points for you. Sanchez in goal, returns with 6. Shaw, Trent and Tsimikas all returned, if we're calling Shaw return, 4, 12 and 11 respectively. Salah captain, poor 6. But Greenwood 10, Rafinha 7, and then Barnes and Fernandes both blanking with 2 and 1. And then good strike force up front, Antonio and Ings 16 and 8. So your bench 0-0, 1-0. You got barely 8. I mean, you haven't got a bench anymore because now Tsimikas is out. You're slotting Eiling in, so no bench. But 100k in the world, 83 points. You must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, 2 good weeks. And I've got 2 free transfers still, which I'm happy about. I mean, the points last week were good. There was a couple of slightly lucky ones. Like, I will back Greenwood till the cows come home. You know that. You saw my tweet about it last week. And I was delighted to see, off the back of saying, if you don't have Greenwood, buy him get 10. But yep. I must confess, I was lucky with that. As like you saw the highlights or watched the game, and it was a scuffed effort. I think it may have been his only shot on target, and he comes away with 10 points. So I was a bit lucky there. And then Danny Ings, same again. Like Aston Villa.
Oh yeah, scuffed effort for Ings.
Yeah, I mean Danny Ings, what a goal! Like that's goal of the month worthy. However, Villa were poor, and I think again that might have been Ings' only shot on target. Yeah. So you look at it and go, I've come home with 18 points there from 2 guys that only had 1 shot on target each in those games. So I'm very happy with it. And I know a lot were on Greenwood and Ings and all did well from it. But I'm looking at it going, moving forward, as soon as those Villas turn for someone like Danny Ings, I don't want him. I'm really not impressed with Aston Villa. Greenwood, Rashford is back in training. Rashford is back in training. Rashford, that's a
good one, yep.
And I've always said Greenwood will be out the minute Rashford is back fit because we know how much Ollie loves him, and it just means Rashford will play left and Sancho isn't going to be on the bench. So it will be Sancho right and then Cavani rotating with either Greenwood or Martial for the number 9. So look, I don't think Rashford's going to be back playing for another couple of weeks. But yeah, Greenwood is also probably on borrowed time because I don't want any rotation risks. But for the time being, as he's getting 90 minutes, he's not someone that comes off. Ollie wants him on at all times. He's had 2 lots of 90, I think it is. So very happy with that. And elsewhere, Salah didn't perform, but he still outperformed Bruno. So we're happy there. Rafinha got his goal that I think he probably deserved.
Great goal. Great finish as well.
In front of the Ellen Road crowd as well. Like that is a football club. We don't love the Leeds fans or most football fans don't love the Leeds fans, but that is a stadium you want to see rocking. And for people like our age, you think back to the glory years and it's a massive football club. So I think we will see some big performances from Leeds at home this year. So yeah, all good. Very happy.
Yeah, I mean, Greenwood's an interesting, wasn't it? Because I haven't got him. Obviously, you've been singing his praises. I always knew he was a good option, but there's just that bit in the back of your mind, which is when United are full strength, fully fit, where does he play? I think he is first choice. I think he probably is the first choice striker. But obviously with the Champions League coming and, Ole still likes Martial for whatever reason. Cavani's going to be back. Sancho, Pogba, Rashford. They've got a hell of a lot of options. So I think now I still think buying him now isn't the most stupid thing in the world. With Newcastle coming after the Wolves game. But after that Newcastle game, I think you'll probably stick if you've got him. But I think buying him might be a bit late.
I'm thinking after the Newcastle game, depending on his minutes against Newcastle, he might be one I sell only because it's Champions League time and it will be the same time Rashford is back and Cavani will be up and running by then. However, with the McTominay injury news today, I mean, it's only minor surgery. You don't know how long he's going to be out for. That could mean Pogba playing centre mid alongside Fred, or maybe Matic comes in, or maybe Donny gets some game time. But that is good news for Greenwood in a way in terms of minutes, because you think, okay, Pogba comes outside of that front four potentially to cover McTominay, but he's done so well on the left, you'd probably not want to move him. So it's an interesting one, the United selection policy. But for as long as he's getting 90, he's in my team.
Yep, absolutely. And even if you've got to have him for those 4 or 5 weeks and he gets points that he's been doing, he's done his job, right? That's what you wanted him for. We always knew there was going to be some risk with him, but yourself included on Twitter, singing his praises, saying, he's nailed on for these 4 or 5 games. And if he returns against Wolves and then gets anything against Newcastle, he's been a hell of a buy for 7-5. Right, so let's look at your team going forward. Then we've got a few things to discuss here. So you haven't made any moves yet. So you've got Sanchez in goal, Shaw, Trent, Ayling, Salah, Greenwood, Barnes, Rafinha, Fernandes, Antonio, Ings, Antonio captain. So yeah, a few things to touch on here. Firstly, let's talk about your bench. Because your bench is currently Foster, Tsimikas, White and Parika, none of which are going to play, I wouldn't have thought, at the weekend. Is that something that concerns you a little bit? Are you thinking of maybe using a move to strengthen that?
No, not at all. Wow. Yeah, and I always have a really, really thin bench. I did last year. I remember being on the FPL show last year, as I was on with, I think, Sam from FPL Family and Scout, and they got a graphic up of her bench points, and it was like 3/4 way through the season, and then a graphic up of my bench points, and it was something like I had 50 and she had 250. It was ridiculous. And of course, I would love bench points because it means your players are doing well, but at the same time, I don't like spending money on the bench outside of COVID years. Now, potentially this could become a more COVID year with more cases, Ben White style cases. But for the time being, I don't like the selection headache. I don't like having too many I don't like having 5.5s on the bench when I can have 4.5s. So Ben White, yes, he's orange flagged, but I know I want him long term. So not looking to sell him. And Tsimikas, one of my moves this week is likely to be, could be Tsimikas out for a playing player, Livramento. So I'm happy with one playing sub each week, to be honest. I mean, yes, of course, when I wildcard, if I can find a 4.5 forward that gets minutes or a 4.5 defender that's not injured, then cool, that's great. But I'm not concerned over having a thin bench for the next couple of weeks, because at the moment, we're not seeing too many injuries because these guys are only playing once a week. And we know who's starting in these teams. So at the moment, looking at my 11, the only one that might not start on this weekend is Barnes. And even if he didn't start, he's still getting minutes. Although saying that, I'm looking at selling him. But do you know what I mean? We're predicting the 11s and we kind of know who's playing. I don't have a team full of Man City players, or I'm thinking of other teams that rotate a lot. Well, pretty much just Man City, isn't it?
I think you're very brave. And I use the word brave.
Brave, not stupid.
I use the word brave loosely, not going with at least one playing bench player. I mean, White's going to be back.
Ben White's playing bench player, right?
Ben White will be back. I mean, this week, I think you're probably right. You'll probably get away with it, particularly if you sell Barnes. I think, when we start seeing Europe for like Antonio and things, that we might start to see some surprises. But I think for this week, I think you're probably quite good. And yeah, White will be back in the team. I mean, Tsimikas to Livramento obviously seems like a solid move, but it's finding the right time to do it, right? Because I've got rid of White this week for Livramento, and I had to use a free transfer for that, and I kind of wish I hadn't done it because it just feels a bit meh, a bit nothingy. Whereas this is the time where we want to be attacking a bit more and getting in, quite exciting players and fighting fires and stuff. And I kind of feel like maybe I went a bit early on that one. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, let's talk about Barnes then. So interesting that you're talking about selling him. I mean, I sold Barnes in my own team Monday night because I watched the game. I thought he was really poor. I thought, well, Leicester are going to shake this up against Norwich. Iheanacho is going to come in. I don't know if Barnes is going to play. His price looked like it was going down. Ben Rama's price looked like it was going up, and it had. And so there's potentially a 0.3 swing in it now. Firstly, I mean, you've deliberately not made an early transfer. Is that just to kind of gather more information then? Have you deliberately not done it, or are you just not sure, so you just haven't made the move yet?
Yeah, I've been caught in two minds, really, with where I'm going with this team. And it comes down to whether I'm replacing Danny Ings next week with Lukaku or if I'm replacing him with DCL next week. I'm definitely replacing Danny Ings next week. And if it's with Lukaku, it means I need to find that money now, right? So I'd be using one of my free transfers. And the guy I know I want to bring into this team is Livramento as a brilliant enabler. If I sell Ben White, that kind of scuppers my long-term plan if I don't wildcard. I know I want Ben White, and I know I can make money on Tsimikas because he's gone up to 4.2, right? So my simple sell would be Tsimikas down to Livramento. That then would allow me to go Danny Ings to DCL should I sell Barnes next week as well. Remember, I've got 2 free transfers. That's the sort of safe option. That's probably the option I'm going with. However, if I want Lukaku next week, and I sell Danny Ings to Lukaku, I can do that by selling Trent to Livramento. So that would be my move. Yeah, I know, right? And I've spent all week thinking about this right? I've spent all week thinking, how do I get Lukaku in without ruining my team? And I see it as ruining my team if I sell Salah or Bruno. And I tried loads of combinations without Salah or Bruno, trying to cover their points and all that. And then just looking at Salah's, knowing he's got Leeds the week after next, knowing Bruno has Newcastle the week after next and Wolves this week, those 4 fixtures for those 2 players, if you include Chelsea for Salah, I can't go without those guys for those 2 fixtures. So I'm not willing to sell those guys till like game week 6 onwards, which meant, okay, Trent, will he keep a clean sheet against Chelsea? I don't think he will. Will he keep a clean sheet against Leeds? Again, I don't think he will. We've not been impressed with Liverpool's defence, right? They've been lucky to keep 2 cleanos. Now, will he get attacking returns? Maybe. And we know he can do that. He scored a direct free kick against Chelsea last season, I think. But he's lower risk to go without. And he frees up 3.5 million. He frees up enough to go into Lukaku. So it's a really tough one. But I just think that's a little too rogue. And I know if I sell Trent, my plan with selling Trent is to get him back for Crystal Palace, and I think is it game week 6, and that's just using too many transfers on selling the same guy and bringing the same guy back, and then a little bit more surgery to your team. It just doesn't seem worth it for Lukaku to get on him in early. While when I could just go Bruno out for game week 6, 7, whenever the fixtures turn, and Lukaku comes in that week like everyone else. It just I think I'm trying to be too cool for school here, and I made these errors last season. I think I'm going to go safe and just go Tsimikas out, Livramento in, sell Barnes if I need to, if I don't think he's going to start on Saturday morning. That 2 free transfers, and then next week Ings to DCL, and it's a lot more template, a lot more safe, and a lot more boring. But actually, it's the smart move, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say if you're here to see some pain from Gianni, you might not see it this week. But if you had a defence of Shaw, Livramento, Eiling, Tsimikas and White, I think you would be asking for trouble. I think. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and I was talking with Mark about it on Black Box because he's done sort of a bit of he's done quite a lot of surgery on his team to get Lukaku in.
Yeah.
And you have to really. I mean, there's no other way. I mean, selling Bruno before that Newcastle game would worry the hell out of me. But I mean, Lukaku does have Villa at home, which isn't too bad a fixture. But yeah, and if you try and do it the other way, you there has to be, you have to make sacrifices. It's just how it is. And what do you think about Harry Kane now? Is he entering into your thinking at all, or do you still think Lukaku is clear?
I think he's a brilliant captaincy option this week, Kane. I really do think his head will be in it, and I do think he starts against Watford. The home crowd. If I, again, to get Lukaku is the same issue I've got with Kane, right? But by having one of them, it allows us to switch between them. Getting a premium forward in our teams, I think looks pretty important. But I think I'm willing to wait till game week 6-7 to do that. And Kane, whilst he has a really nice fixture this week and a nice one next, he then has Chelsea, I think, in game week, is it 5? So, and then another tough one, I think. So I think I'm willing to wait on Kane. And I'm still not massively impressed with Nuno's Spurs. Like, I still think the value there could be in a Reguilon. Like, I think they're going to keep like loads of clean sheets. I don't know if they're going to be beating teams 4 and 5-0, even 2 and 3-0, right? We saw them against Wolves last week. Wolves were so unlucky. They created so many chances. If Traore could hit a barn door, they win that game. And again, like, Spurs were relying on a Dele Alli penalty that was soft. So yeah, I don't think I'm willing to go big on Spurs in terms of spending your 10 million plus. Because another thing I'd previously thought for this week, do I sell Salah for 1 week for Son and then bring Salah back?
Do you know what? I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that a fair bit on Twitter, and it's never been something. I never really like those types of moves, those very, very short-term moves. And I mean, I think especially for you with no bench as well, you sell Salah for Son, and then, you get some injury issues over the international break and you need to address those, and then you don't have Salah. It might not be 1 week. It might be... you're banking yourself a transfer in. I mean, you could just look at it as like maximum of a -4, like you address your other issues and then just bring Salah in. But that means Son's got to outscore Salah, this week by 4 points. Plus you've used a transfer anyway. Yeah. It gets messy, doesn't it, when you start thinking of it like that?
I think it does, and that's why I'm going against the Trent move this week. I really don't mind going without Trent for Chelsea and Leeds, but I know come game week 5, I definitely want to get him back. And am I willing to spend 2 transfers on selling a guy and bringing him back a fortnight later? Probably not. And we know there will be injuries over the international break, and we know there will be a new must-have players, and things change. So to bookmark 2 transfers in for 1 player there and back, and it's the same with Son and Salah, it just isn't my flavour at all. I don't think I've ever done that, to be fair.
We've seen it in the past. I mean, I remember a few seasons ago, everyone got in Kane versus Cardiff, and it was like, people were making switches from big names like Salah. They were ripping their teams apart. They were selling people like Trent and stuff, bringing in Kane, captaining him, and then he blanks. And it's like, I know the next 2 are good for Spurs, but is it worth ripping your team apart for 1 or 2 kind of really good weeks? I'm never really sure that is. Plus, you've got price rises for Salah to contend with. He could score against Chelsea, go up another 0.1, 0.2, and then you've lost out 1.3 of that. It's tricky. I'm seeing a lot of fair play to people that are going for it and really attacking these kind of fixtures, because it can be successful. But yeah, it's not. It's a little bit much for me. I just want to touch on, you've got 3 United players here. You've got Fernandes, Greenwood and Shaw. United suspect at the back. McTominay is now confirmed out for a while. Wolves look good against Spurs. Unlucky. Yeah. You a bit worried about the 3 United in this?
Yeah, I mean, I know eventually all 3 are actually in a way on borrowed time. Whilst I'm delighted with Greenwood, like I said, when he starts losing minutes, he will go. That could be in a couple of weeks. When Bruno's fixtures turn, and we all want Lukaku, he'll be my make weight, so he will go. And actually, even Luke Shaw, and whilst we're all very excited by Luke Shaw, because he was one of England's best players in the Euros, and how amazing was he at the end of last season, when you look at the pure numbers, didn't quite do it, did he? Like, in terms of assists last season, Wan-Bissaka outscored him. He was coming close lots, and yes, he's been on set pieces. I don't know, United's defence still looks a little bit suspect to me. We haven't seen Varane come in and see how that's going to look. But when their fixtures turn in game week 7, I don't want Luke Shaw, and I can have Reece James for very similar price, right? So I think, again, like, Shaw will be someone that I look to move come game week 7, because it's just a sea of red for like 5 fixtures for United. And I can see them conceding in all of them. So yeah, I think whilst I'm heavy on United now, and I've in a way been rewarded for it, other than Shaw, the others have hauled. But I don't think it will be long term. They will be some I get rid of for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. As someone who doesn't got Shaw, it's been quite nice to see him.
What a move that was, Az. That was ballsy of you because you knew his ownership, you didn't care, and you just didn't back him. You went Soufal instead, right?
I went Soufal, who's matched him for 0.5 less, which has been good.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, getting 2 bonus points in the match was annoying for me, but yeah, it shows that he's creating chances and doing well. And like I said right from the start, I've got no doubt that Shaw will be a good pick. And going into Newcastle at home, it's obviously a worry he could turn up, but I do think there are plenty of other options to consider particularly in defence. I mean, Reguilon's 5 as well. Like Reece James is 5.6 now, I think, who looks really strong. So yeah, I think if you've got, it was one of the reasons why I didn't really want to lock myself into Shaw because he's quite a hard sell, I think, because he can always kind of perform. But yeah, I'm sort of relatively happy not kind of having him in my side. Captain. So you got Antonio captain at the moment with Fernandes vice. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it looks like it should be a week where there's quite a split of different captains. The captain poll on Scout is overwhelmingly in favour of Antonio at the moment, but you've got Kane now, Son. I was considering Barnes at one point before his performance against West Ham. Not anymore. I've sold him. Fernandes is there. You've got Salah. Even players like Rafinha, Calvert-Lewin, Ings. I don't think we're going to see a big spread of captains. I think it's going to be mostly centred around Antonio, Fernandes and Salah, given their ownership. But who are you? Are you set on Antonio, or is there anyone else that you'd be considering?
I am between the two. I've got the armband on and Vice, but I do look at Danny Ings and Rafinha and think they are both brilliant options this week. Ings just because it's Dean Smith playing against Brentford. It's the home crowd off the back of his wonder goal, despite Villa looking poor. And Rafinha, I think what we see with Leeds is they bully the weaker footballing teams, right? Leeds lose to all the teams that are better than them. They always lose to the top 6 because they go head to head with them, toe to toe with them. When they play weaker teams, especially weaker footballing teams, and Burnley are one of the weakest footballing teams in terms of technical ability and keeping possession, I think Burnley will smash them. I think Leeds will smash them. And I think Rafinha could be big on points here. Saying that, I can't see past Antonio. It's the form and the fixture. Palace even lost to Watford in the week. Palace did have a game in the week as well, remember? Whilst Antonio played Monday night, they didn't have a Carabao Cup game. Palace did, and yes, there was a bit of rotation there, but there will still be a fair few players from the 11 that played twice. So will we get some tired legs? Maybe. Antonio's on a high. We've seen him get the record goals for West Ham in the Premier League. It just looks like one where you want to back your boy Antonio, but I can see why people will go Bruno. I just think Wolves were fairly impressive at Molineux against Spurs. I know they lost the game, and I think Wolves are due a return. Now, do I think they're going to win? No, but I think they'll make it difficult for United. And I can see the game going fairly similar to how it went when Spurs went to Molineux last week, where they nick a 1-0 win or something like that. But I don't think Bruno will run riot. And knowing I have Greenwood covered as well, already my double United attack, I don't want to go triple United attack, I don't think. So, yeah, I think I'm on Antonio. I think I'm pretty set on that. If I did veer away, though, it wouldn't be for a differential in Rafinha or Ings. It would be for the safe bet. Yeah. And it'll be interesting. You say about the Scout poll, Antonio, which one of them is going to have more players captaining them? It was probably still will be Bruno because of the United tax and because of the amount of casual players. United, the most heavily supported team, people gravitate towards their players. And more casual managers, the likes of that probably don't watch these sorts of videos and don't subscribe to Scout, probably just go Salah, Bruno every week, right?
I don't think Antonio is going to hit 100% effective ownership. Yeah. So just for anyone who doesn't know what effective ownership is, it's essentially how many people own that player, and obviously 100% would be if everyone owned them, 200% would be if everyone captained them, 300% would be if everyone triple captained them. That's kind of the easiest way to look at it. So when a player is over 100% ownership, it means you lose points basically whenever they score, even if you own them. So, Fernandes and Salah, for example, were players who had that last week. If you owned Salah but didn't captain him, any points he scored would have been detrimental to you. So it's not often not fun. But I don't think Antonio is going to hit 100%. EO. I mean, he's 37% owned, I think, in the game.
Yeah,
he's going to need really heavy backing, I think, to do it. And I think we are going to see a split between him, Salah, and Fernandes among the 8 million wherever players it is. I think Fernandes probably will hit over it. So I think we will be rooting for a not a big performance from him. But I mean, there's other ways to look at it. I mean, you might be in mini leagues where people haven't got Fernandes and you have. It's not all about kind of EO. So it's, kind of take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. But yeah, I'm really struggling. I mean, to me, it's systems, right? It's a lot of football is about how good is the system that the team can put together. And West Ham, I think, have pretty much the best system in place, along with like City. Like, they just know how to play. They know where each other are on the pitch. They know all their roles and where they've got to do, and all of that has just been drilled into them. Palace don't have that at the moment. They're a team massively in transition.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I was just going to say, you said best system alongside City, and I just couldn't help myself. Don't forget the European champions, they've got a good system.
Well, very true. Yeah, I mean, they do, right? And that is why Tuchel's been so successful, because he's come in, and I think under Lampard, they were, I don't know what the metaphor is. They were
they didn't have a system, did they?
They were good parts. Like, you think about building a computer. Like, you've got a good graphics card, I'm just showing how much of a nerd I am now. You've got all these like good parts, but then Tuchel's come in and he's been like, okay, we need to put these together in a case and actually, get them working as a unit. Is that a good metaphor? I don't know. Something, you know what I'm trying to say.
For me.
You know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, and Lukaku is that final piece, right? Because he is exactly what Chelsea needed. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'm Liverpool obviously have a great system as well. I mean, loads of teams. This is what the top managers bring in, but it's just interesting when you put West Ham in with that category. I mean, Burnley, another example. I mean, I know Burnley haven't got the most creative players and the most attacking teams, like you say, but they survive every year, and it's because Dias just knows how to get them playing.
Yeah.
So I'm just, and that isn't Palace yet. Palace are probably the one team in the league which just are so far off having a kind of a working system in place. It's a great time to play them, especially for West Ham at home, in the form Antonio's in. Hard to ignore.
It is. I do remember there was a time last season, towards the end of the year, where West Ham was smashing it, and there was no obvious captain pick. I think Bruno and Salah had tricky fixtures. Maybe they even played each other. And Antonio travelled to Craven Cottage to play the Whipping Boys Fulham. And not everyone, it was a really popular pick in the community to go Antonio armband. And I remember doing it, and he blanked. And I've got that was the only time last season I captained Antonio. Probably the only time ever I've captained Antonio. And so that slight sort of history behind it makes me nervous. But that is the only thing. And that makes a difference. Yeah. Just because you once upon a time, like the player goes, that time when Gianni captained me against Fulham, I'm not going to perform then because it's an omen. So it's ridiculous that we as FPL managers think like that sometimes. But of course that has crossed my mind. But no, I think it looks too obvious this week to go Antonio. It's just an easy one for us.
I think it is. And I think you can overthink it too much. You can think, everyone's going to be going for him. But like I said, I think he's going to be a popular pick in the niche circle, and I think most people are gonna gravitate towards the kind of premium options. I mean, Son and Kane, I think are great picks. I mean, Kane, if you've played your wild card this week or something, I think Kane could be a really solid player to get in. I think if you've got Son, I think he's probably the contender, that I'm actually seeing in teams that I think I might consider. But the stats all back Antonio. Everything's pointing towards an Antonio Hall again. Oh, I mean, I've got 3 West Ham players. I've got 3 West Ham players, and my captain's going to be on Antonio.
Wow. See, I think it's easier for me because I don't have Benrahma.
Yeah,
I genuinely think if I had Benrahma, I'd be looking maybe at safer bets in Bruno. But maybe I get Benrahma. The one thing I've not spoken about in this stream yet, and I've seen a lot of comments in the chat, why has he still got Barnes? If I don't think Barnes is going to start Saturday morning, and we may or may not get some team leaks, I will be looking to sell him. And I've got 3 options to replace Barnes. Either take an expensive or inflated Benrahma because I'd have missed out on the price rises, but still great value.
Which again plays on your mind, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it shouldn't do.
Frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
I've got that with Regulon at the moment. I'm like, he's gone up to 5-1. He's dead to me now. I'm not paying that.
It's so stupid, isn't it?
It is ridiculous, yeah.
So I might go and get Benrahma to Barnes, and I'll lose 0.3 on what the same move you made on the Monday night, because obviously I've let Barnes drop. But I could go longer term than that and go, Benrahma maybe is great for the next few weeks, then the fixtures turn a bit, and maybe Lingard coming in affects that if he comes. Or I could go, I don't think I'm going to use my wild card for a while. I could go Traore or I could go Sarr. So actually, or I could go, if I don't go DCL, maybe I want Damari Gray at 5.5 and cover Everton that way. So I've got really good options for selling Barnes. It will be someone cheaper, and it won't be Gray, because I think I'm going to go Calvert-Lewin, but it will be Traore, Sarr, or bite the bullet on Benrahma. And if I do go Benrahma, then I don't want to captain Antonio. I just don't like overcommitting to teams. Teams like West Ham, who whilst they're very, very, very good, they aren't City. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not ones you want to go all eggs in one basket on. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, Barnes is a tricky one. If I said to you now, pick 5 midfielders, sort of around 7 million, I reckon Barnes wouldn't feature in that list. No. And that was the kind of decision that I came to with him. Was I don't trust his starts, I don't trust his form, I don't trust his fitness, I don't trust Leicester at creating chances. The only thing he's got going for him is a good fixture against Norwich. Yeah. But Benrahma's got a good fixture against Palace. So that to me was what made me kind of move towards him. Yeah, I
think you made the sensible move, mate. In a way, I'm regretting it, especially the more and more I think about it. I was going, Perez has been sent off, he's suspended. That's one less attacking player. He's going to definitely start. I don't think he's going to start. I think he's going to go. Iheanacho looked right when he came on. He could go with Daka, but I think he'll be Iheanacho and Vardy, and then Maddison in behind them. And that just doesn't leave space for Barnes if he goes with the back 5 and wing back. So it's really tricky. He's probably a toss of a coin. I've spoken to a few Leicester mates, and they've gone, it's 50-50 if he starts or not. And it's really, if I knew he wasn't starting, it'd be the easiest sell ever. But the fact that he could start against Norwich, that could be a 5-0 game. I know it probably won't be, but it's one that could be.
The only way they can fit all these players in is with a 4-3-3, which means one of Vardy or Nacho heading out wide.
Yeah.
And I don't think either of them want to do that.
No.
And so, and then, trying to fit in, Maddison, Tielemans, Barnes, I just can't really see it. And if they stick with the formation they've been playing, which kind of is a 4-3-3, then it's going to have to be Pereira that pushes up, like I said. And then, Castagna coming in, Thomas can stay on the left and Barnes. But I think Iheanacho's just got a feature.
And maybe Iheanacho plays wide right. He definitely doesn't push Vardy out because he is the talisman. Maybe it's Iheanacho right and Barnes left.
Maybe it is. But
so they've not got the centre-backs to play with the back 5, have they? They've not got 3 centre-backs that fit.
Well, if Vestergaard's fit, they could, because they could play Amati, Soyuncu and Vestergaard.
In his first game, yeah,
they could drop Ndidi back, for example. I mean, it's a lot of ifs and maybes, but there's a lot of ifs and maybes about the whole team. We could see Nacho go wide right just for like 1 or 2 games, but
yeah,
he's going to be pretty miffed, isn't he? I mean, he's pretty much their best performing player last season. Signs a new contract, misses the first 2 games, and then he's back in the team, but shipped out over to the right against Norwich. It's
savage. It's pretty savage on him. Like, he was so good, wasn't he? At the end of last season.
And Daka had a great record. I mean, I know it was in the Austrian league, but got 50-odd goals in 80 appearances. He's going to be wanting to play against teams like Norwich and show what he's capable of. So, yeah, I don't know. Barnes, to me, was just too much. I mean, he might start, he might do well, but I think, decision-wise, I think it was probably the right move to do. I think now that you've sort of ridden out that 0.2, I wonder if you'll probably stick with him. I think you probably will.
Yeah. It's made it honestly. It's really seeing the drop on him and the 2.2 price rise on Benrahma, and I think it could rise again. It's painful because it's like, why don't not do it on the Monday? But I just needed more time to process it. I was watching the game on Scoutcast Match Day. I was wary that some of my players were playing Carabao Cup games, not many of them, admittedly. And I just thought, no, let's ride it out. I also didn't expect quite so many transfers. I know the price changes are high. We get them a lot at the start of the season, but I didn't quite expect the likes of Antonio and Benrahma to potentially climb like 0.3 in a game
it's
week.
Crazy. So
that shocked me.
So volatile at this stage of the season, even more volatile than I anticipated. Definitely an interesting one. I mean, like you say though, I mean, I know that it can seem like using that 0.2 was maybe a bad move, and you kind of wish you'd done it. But I regret moving White to Livramento Sunday night, because I wish I'd waited for that Monday game, and because I would have gone up. I would have gone to Regulon now, because I've got the money that I took out of Barnes.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So there is some, because I thought I'd just do White to, because I was thinking of captaining Barnes. So I was like, I'll just do White to Livramento, get rid of that problem. I thought his price was going to drop, which it now has. And then, I'll save the transfer and go into the Nationals with two things. Basically, the only thing that could have happened that would have made me wanted to move was Barnes blanking, Ben Rama going absolutely nuts. And this is exactly what happened. So, yeah, sometimes holding on can definitely be the right decision. Well, often it is. I think that's it then Gianni, for this stream. I just want to talk about my Fantasy 5 team.
Yeah.
Because again, I do think this is the time that we can maybe get on it. Although I've just realised I've put the wrong image in, so let me just fix that.
I remember last week, I can't remember what United player you went for, but I feel like whoever you went for, I said, no, Az, go Greenwood, he's even less. And obviously it was the week where I was back in Greenwood. But I'm guessing it wasn't just Greenwood as to why you didn't hit the jackpot.
It was not, no.
You're fine then.
I think I went Sancho last week and it didn't.
I think it was Sancho, that's right.
Didn't even start. Well, this week I've gone for 3 forwards, so Calvert-Lewin, Antonio and Lukaku, both with a points target of 6.5. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we're ever going to see Lukaku with a lower points target than 6.5. I have some doubts about Van Dijk's fitness at the moment. He's not fully up to speed, so this could be the only chance Lukaku's going to get to really kind of bully him. And I think Antonio and Calvert-Lewin both have chances of getting more than a goal in that. Harry Kane's 9.5. Again, I think that's probably one of the lowest I've seen him at as well. I think he's going to start against Watford. Could get a couple of goals. It's the United game that's the tricky one to get. I think it's going to catch a lot of people out. I've gone for Pogba because his target's 7.5 and he's kind of playing on the left. But yeah, he's the one. But yeah, if you see this and like the look of it, head over to Fantasy 5, put your team together. It's free to play. And yeah, you can try and do better than me. But like I said, Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, and Lukaku all at 6.5. I know they need more than a goal each, but
quite the big one there for me is Calvert-Lewin, because usually you see favourable fixtures for the sort of mid-table teams like Everton, and a favourable fixture you'd expect the talisman to be higher than that. But I guess they're just really appreciating the Brighton defence.
I think they are.
We've backed Brighton defence as FPL managers, and I guess they are too. But it doesn't look brilliant, does it? As like the Brighton defence hasn't looked great game week 1 and 2.
Well, we played well game week 2 against Watford. They didn't really create too many chances, but the issue is that we can't deal with crosses.
Yeah, and he wins a lot of crosses,
and he's going to win a lot of crosses. So I would be very surprised if Calvert-Lewin didn't come out of the Brighton game without some attacking returns. I think we'll definitely concede to Everton. So yeah, and their whole system is built around Calvert-Lewin. He's someone I'm looking to bring into my FPL team at some point, probably for Ings, which, like you said, is going to be a popular move.
Yeah.
That's it for us then. Thank you everyone for joining us. Again, Gianni's got a big smile on his face this week. That might be wiped off his face if he doesn't get rid of Barnes or if he moves for Lukaku.
Or I keep Barnes and he's benched and gets 10 minutes and 1 point against Norwich.
Absolutely.
Whilst Ben Rama goes crazy against Palace.
But we want to see you in the top 100k next week, Gianni. So, make sure you get your decisions right, at least.
I've not been in there for a while, mate. So do I.
Me either. No, not to worry. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you next week.